I have to admit, the very first instance of me hearing Brockhampton, someone played me a song, and I was put off because of just too much. I've never been that much a fan of male autotune. Female autotune I can stomach a lot easier. Although they're too much male autotune when it's done in pop music context and not an more experimental kind of abstract context. I find it off-putting, frankly. Playing the first track, Boogie, off of Saturation Free. Oh yeah, this album's going to be amazing, isn't it? Oh my god. Yeah, listen to that. Listen to Boogie. Good stuff. And I started on, you know what? I'm going to jam out to this album and work. And start to play it. I'm thinking, oh wait, there's lots of explicit language in here. Damn it. Brockhampton, you said you were a boy band. Boy bands don't have explicit language in their music. It's more subtle than that, usually. Yeah, things can change. These guys to put out 3 really interesting albums in 1 year, they were on fire. No other year in their career so far has come even close, and they don't have to, as far as I'm concerned. I respect them forever just for the 2017 alone. Just going to finish this out here by reading 2 user reviews uploaded to Rate Your Music. Very positive reviews. Firstly, from one Lil Figurative, December 4th, 2021. This is the best saturation. The group feels like a single unified force as they deliver incredible track after incredible track. The instrumentals are dense and heavily layered, but they don't feel cluttered or overwhelming. Every time I hear this album, I pick up new elements of the production that passed me by on previous listens. I only felt the impact of things like the verses on Hottie, Joba's harmonizing on Stains, or the transition from Johnny to Liquid on my second or third listen. There are quite a few excellent beat switches on the album. Johnny, Bleach, Sister/Nation, and Alaska all have impeccable switch-ups. The deep cuts are more plentiful as well, Bleach and Rental being prime examples. The lyrics on those tracks feel even more personal than they already were. There are still several bangers though, like Boogie, Stupid, and the first half of Sister/Nation. Out of the Saturation trilogy, this one feels the most like a movie. The transition between tracks, the skits, and the sound design give this album a very cinematic feel. Every member brings their best work, but Matt, Joba, and Kevin especially stand out. Everything about the group that works is on this album, and is the only thing on this album. My biggest problem with this album is Merlin's verse on Liquid, and even then, it's only 4 lines. Easily my favourite album of 2017, and my favourite album in Brockhampton's catalogue. My personal favourite album of 2017 has got to be the Vince Staples' Big Fish Fury. Someone nominate anything else that would top that release. Now let's read aloud from one Dommy. There's about 4 M's there. On November 21st, 2022, fantastic third and final installment in the Saturation trilogy. If Brockhampton's 2017 year couldn't get any bigger and busier, 4 months after they released Saturation 2, they come out with Saturation 3, with a bit of a different direction taken that makes it more distinct from the previous 2 installments. Production. While in contrast to the other installments in the Saturation series, it sounds similar in terms of what they stylistically are capable of, with their fusions of genres and sounds, but what makes this different out of the 3 is that they let themselves go wilder. And of the synths and drums, 808s are layered or turned up to 11, increasing their distortion and presence on each track, giving it an energetic and youthful sense of power. A fantastic example that differs immensely from anything on the other album's track listings is on track 11, Sister/Nation. There is this droning synth that is played out throughout the first quarter of the track. Then there are these distorted and panned out synth notes that morph into a bridge that sounds like a beat switch that sounds like a track that uses the sound chip of a Super Nintendo, then abruptly switches back into the droning synth. After this transition happens for the second time, the real beat switch comes into this more low-key and smooth melodic instrumental. Even the lead single, Boogie, was a clear departure from the other 2 records, with how much more is happening in the layers of the production and energy. Brockhampton doesn't stop itself from letting the energy overflow on the 3rd installment. Mixing, while on the 2nd installment has better and more mature mixes track by track, this, while executed properly, is a lot more chaotic and out there. Each track is now flooding with charisma, and it can predominantly be heard on the low end on each track. There really isn't much to be said other than that. Songwriting. Most are aware of what Brockhampton offers to the table, but Saturation 3 steers into its more melodic lane that appeared scattered all throughout the trilogy. While Amir might not give a melodic performance as he is primarily one of the main rappers on the record, Kevin and Jabari progress their phrasings and melody writing a lot more with great success, like on the final closing track to the whole series, Team. Saturation 3 has some of the best melodies in the series, and it's just a further display of what individually they are capable of. Overall, what appears from the first installment is a clear depiction of what the group is and what they are capable of doing. Then the second installment is not essentially doubling down, but revealing they are capable of becoming more focused and bar-oriented, while on the third it's being loud and out there with their deliveries and melodies. This is the best ending to an era that anyone could have asked for. I might suggest my favorite of the trilogy is actually the first one. I find that the most peculiar and re-listenable, though maybe Saturation Free is my next go. It's just so weird and unusual. And for a mainstream pop album to be this bizarre and shamelessly so, and not in an attempt to, you know, impress people by how, like, you know, look at me, look how weird I am. It's so idiosyncratic and odd. I can't imagine this being considered anything but abrasive by most audiences, most listeners, and yet it's intended as free and fun pop music. And when you find it yourself embracing Saturation Free, you're enjoying it as pop music more than anything else. Fascinating experiment.